Hello, everybody. NPC Click here, and today I'm going to talk about the street racing problem in my city. And this could be applied to any city. I'm not, in any case, right off the bat, I'm not in any case condoning street racing, but I'm not saying that I'm against it for various reasons. And everything in this location-wise is going to be different name because I don't want people to know where I live for various reasons. So first off, I do want to say thank you for coming out and stopping by the channel today and listening to what I have to say, because I find it myself interesting. You may not, but if you do, leave a comment, a like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, and maybe I'll start doing more of these if it actually takes off. So but the points that I want to go over today is, why do people race on the Miracle Mile? What are the risks of racing on a Miracle Mile? Why don't they go to an auto track? And what could they be doing in our town if they're not on a Miracle Mile racing? And what can be stopped so people will stop racing on the mile? So those are the what I'm going to over today. The reason I bring this up is because recently on the mile we've had an accident because people were illegally street racing, and it caused somebody to go to the hospital that was a bystander. So people are flipping out about it, and I get where they're coming from, but at the other end, they're too obtuse to realize the opposite side of it. They want people to go to a raceway and all this other stuff, but I'm going to explain this. So the first thing is first here is, why do people race on the mile? People race and come to the mile to race because it's free. When you race at the mile, there's no track fee. You've already paid it when you pay your tags every year. So you come in, you race, you leave. You can do it as you wish. It is also local, so people don't have to go to the local track. The local track for our city is like an hour to a half hour to an hour away. So people don't want to drive a half hour to an hour just to get to a track. And then there's other reasons why they don't want to go to the track, and we'll get to that later. The mile is extremely great for racing because there's no hill crests that are really steep. It's straight road. It's not pivoted, and it's not turns, and there's not a bunch of potholes, and it's got lights to stop at and take off at, so you have an automatic, ready, set, go switch. There you go. So that's that. That's why that's some of the reasons, and then it's social. When you go to the mile, people will stand on the side of the road, on the sidewalks and in parking lots in their cars, cheering on their significant other. So basically what I'm saying is, I could be out there cheering on my wife as she spanks this Honda that's been tempting her all night. Something you cannot do at a racetrack. So you know what? I'm okay with that. So that's why people race there. So let's go over reasons why, or some of the risks of racing, and this goes for pretty much every public area. So with racing on any public road in the United States, you always run the risk of a nasty ticket. The faster you're going over the speed limit, the bigger the ticket, and up to losing your license and whatnot. So that right there is actually a big deterrent for most people why they don't speed and street race and stuff. But this is something that these kids and people overlook, because they want the adrenaline rush. So you got that. You got blown cars. If they have no knowledge of their cars and what it can handle, they could blow their engine or tear out a transmission or something, and it could really cost them a pretty penny to fix. So there's that too. You got wrecked cars. If the person racing don't have the skill to race and to keep control of an automobile at high speed, whether it be a motorcycle, car, truck, tricycle, whatever, they could risk the wreck of running their car into something, or running into another car. And then they always have, like everywhere else, when driving fast, you have the risk, whether it's on track or off track, you run the risk of death. Racers have a high risk of death themselves, plus others if they don't, again, have the skill to control their car. If they lose control of the car, hit the sidewalk and hit somebody, that's death to them. Or if they wrap their car around a pole, that's death to them. So I said that twice. It's death to the person that they hit on the sidewalk, and then death to them when they hit the pole. So let's go over why people don't want to race at a raceway. First of all, there's a small fee, there's a fee per person. It's not per car, it's per person. And it's for a track and upkeep. So you got that. So people already don't want to go because they got to pay $5, $10, $15, $12, whatever, $20 per person to get into this place. So they got a small fee for the track upkeep, and that's per person. So as soon as you bring your car full of buddies, you're up to like $200. For people like in my town, it's like I said, it's a half-hour drive to get there, half hour to an hour, depending on what side of town you live on. So we got an hour drive, and then we got to pay for the tickets to get in, and then we got to pay for everybody else to get in, whether they pay for themselves or not. It's still the point that you have to pay. It's not very social. You can't sit there on the edge of the track screaming at your friend, cheering them on, nor can you scream at your wife when she's kicking Honda's butt. So it's not that social because they got their rules and regulations. You can't be on the track because they don't want people get run over, and then you got all that. And then when you go there, you're racing against pro cars, and when you go out there and race, you're racing against people with pro cars, and the people that go out to and race on the mile are not pro racers. They're kids and younger adults. They just poured a little bit of money into their car to make it sound good and fast and go fast and whatnot. They throw a little NOS in there, whatever they need to do to make it, seem more badass than what it is. So they don't have the money to put into it. Not to mention they paid the gate fee, but they don't have the money to put into the cars themselves to the extent that these professional tuners are doing. These people that are there because they're for the test and tune night or open track night or whatever they call it. They're there to test their car, tune it up, get it going. These are street legal and not street legal cars with slicks and drag cars and everything else. It's massive, and they don't have a chance. They want to have a chance with the car they're. If I have a Honda, I want to race other Hondas. Now, there's not going to be very many Hondas there that are not over-tuned and tricked out so bad that I can beat them or even have a chance. So, another reason why people don't go to raceways is the rules. There are a ton of rules. And now, I'm not saying that they're bad, but sometimes they are hard to follow. But there is tons of rules, like don't do this, don't do that. You can only go this fast. You can only go fast. You got to do this. You got to do that. These cars can come. These tires can come. This, that, and the other. And sometimes that's hard to do. You don't go on track. You can't cheer. You can't yell. Can't get in fights. Whatever. So, some of those are obviously good things anyway. You shouldn't be going to the mile and beating the shit out of one of your friends or somebody else. But with that, they have a lot of rules to follow, which can sometimes deter them away from the fun. And the last thing I could think of was the long wait. People that want to race, they want to race now. They don't want to go and wait for the once a week event that they can, the once a week open track. They have to wait there, then they got to wait till their tire type's called, and then they got to wait in line to get in a race. And then some places they don't let you pick who you want to race, so you're racing some guy, in this drag car that's been professionally tuned up, and you just got this little Honda, whatever. But, after your hour and a half wait of letting everybody else go, you finally get the race, and then you go back to the back of the line, and then you got to race again, and then you got to wait, and then you race, and then you wait and race. When you go out to the mile, you go down, you race, you turn around, you come back. It's not that hard. Most of the time, people are generous. The racers are generous enough to know when they're following, not to follow too closely, not to get in the way. People on the sidewalks usually stay out of the way. They don't walk on the streets or nothing. They're smart enough to do it. These people aren't stupid. So, but that's why people don't want to go to the raceway. It's pretty simplistic. You got the fees, the drive. You can't go on track. You yell at people and stuff like that. So what are some things that can be done, people can be doing in our town if they weren't racing on the mile? Well, that's pretty simple. They wouldn't be doing anything because at that late at night, these people are racing. Oh, sorry. That's another thing about the raceways. They're not open up late. They're only open up to maybe 10 o'clock at night. Well, some people don't get off until midnight. Like, for example, I don't get off of my job until midnight, 2 o'clock. So when I want to race, I go out at 2 o'clock in the morning to race. And there's always people there. And there's no restrictions telling me that I can't be here because it's closed. So that's another reason why people don't want to go to the raceways. But, back to the question at hand is what they could be doing if they weren't racing a mile. Well, then really in reality, in our town, it may be different for yours, but in our town, there's really nothing they could be doing that late. Because everything is closed. Everything closes around, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So between 8 and 9, or 8 and 10, they're not racing, but 11, 12, 1, or 2, they're racing because there's absolutely nothing to do. You can basically get McDonald's and Taco Bell. That's about it. So if they wasn't doing that, they could be sleeping because it's late at night anyway. They probably should be sleeping in bed, but it's the weekend, and most of the time these kids are out just disobeying their kids, or the adults are out just releasing stress from the week. They could be at home playing video games because you know what? If they're not out racing and people whining about it, they're gonna be people whining about people playing video games always anyway. So they'll be at home and never leaving the house, and people will be complaining that they're always on the game and having a short fuse. So that's another thing they could be doing. Something else is making a video on street racing like I am doing. When I'm not out street racing, I'm making a video showing the points of street racing and why people do it in our town at least. So that's one thing too. Another thing they could be doing in our town is the last 3 things are kind of pushed towards the negative side because I did a positive-ish and now I got to do a negative. So in our town, there's a really bad heroin problem. So if these people aren't racing, they could be out doing heroin. People that race know they need to be focused, and so they don't take drugs, or they avoid it if they're smart. So they're not racing high because they know that, if I'm going to win and kick this guy's ass, I can't be stoned off my ass. So, but like in our town, there's really nothing to do. Recently there's been a lot of heroin overdoses, so heroin is really bad in our town. So you know what, that's probably what they're doing. If they're not doing that, they're going to be vandalizing stuff, driving around tearing stuff up, or burning down buildings, or worse, they'll be stealing or breaking into cars, breaking into your minivan, taking your change just so they can, or your stereo just so they can buy cigarettes or other weed or drugs or heroin. So but in reality, what can people do to stop the racing on the mile? In reality, nothing. There's absolutely nothing people can do unless you close down the road at night. But then they're just going to find some other place to race. It's not that simple. So there's really nothing you can do. Something that I think that would help do is if our town would lift the restrictions and someone built a private drag strip or a racetrack. But we have a racetrack, but there's no open night to it. And it was closed down. It's been closed down for years. It just recently opened up like last year again after like 5 to 10 years of downtime. So they may bring it back, they may not. But again, it comes back to the rules, the money, everything. But anyway, if someone would open up a private drag strip that they would just let public race on, that would bring down a little bit of the racing illegally. But again, you come with the restrictions on that. The restrictions for doing that just from our city is ridiculous. They will not allow you to do it because people whine and bitch too much. It's too loud. It's too much smog. It's too in the way. It's too hidden. It's too visible. They'll find a reason. So after that, you got somebody wrecks on your property. It's your fault. Or it's your issue. You got to pay for it. You got to do all the paperwork, the insurance work. You got to keep your rules, and then you got to upkeep it, not to mention the cost of the upkeep and the cost of the building. So people aren't just going to want to go out and do it. So that is it's a valid thing that could be done, but at the same time, in reality, no one's going to do it in this town because, nobody in that town wants to just throw away that much money for other people to use just to keep the streets safe when we got cops that like to fabricate a ticket for you. So there's plenty of that going around. So, but anyway, that's another thing. But just to recap of why they do it. It's free, local, flat, social. There's no tickets. They only run the risk of tickets, blown cars, wrecks, and potentially death. But they outweigh that with the fun, I guess. People don't want to go there go to raceways because they drive, the cost. It's not very social. There's a lot of rules, long wait, pro cars, and there's really nothing to do in our town. So, but that's about all I have to say on the subject about that. I did put this behind some racing footage because, I'm not putting it on webcam. As always, guys, if you do like it and you want to have anything to put in to my comments section below, feel free to do that. I don't care. with this. I'm going to be posting on Facebook and stuff, so I assume that I'm going to have some nasty comments anyway. But all in all, just in reality, I'm not going to say that I don't street race, but as long as they're doing it safely, I really don't have a problem with it, because I've had my fair share of driving past the old lady on the mile at 90 miles an hour and watch her expression as I buzz past her car. So, but as always, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And as always, take it easy and be safe.